Hi, today I'm going to be sharing a meal with you as I give you some tips about how to eat more mindfully and how French people eat more mindfully in general. And I'm gonna kind of show you practice what I preach and give you visuals maybe. And if this is your lunch break, then you can watch this video and we can eat together. That's so cool. So to start off with, when it comes to the French way of eating, we like to have multiple courses. And this is not something that French people do on a daily basis. However, it is true that I always feel like I want to start my meal with a little something fresh before I dig into the hot meal. So today I just have some cherry tomatoes that I felt like having. A lot of the times when I have pasta, I'm gonna make myself a little salad or something, or have some grated carrots or beetroots, just a little something fresh before I start. And if it's the winter, maybe I can have a little soup or something, and that's a very typically French thing to do. So I'm gonna start eating my tomatoes. I'm so happy that tomatoes are starting to get back in season. I miss them so much during the winter because they're such an easy little starter, such an easy way to get in some veggies. Another very French thing to do, we always have water. Yes, my cup is from the Christmas market, but it holds a lot of water, so I like it. We always have water at the table. Sometimes I will have a drink or soda or something, but it's still very rare, and it's mostly for special occasions or if I'm eating out. But if I'm eating at home, 90% of the time I'm just having water, even 99% of the time. Okay, so now I'm gonna start my main meal, and I want to talk about portion sizes really quickly. So this is a pretty decent portion size. This is, by the way, whole wheat pasta with some Beyond Meat and carrots, zucchini, onion, tomatoes, and cheese. I just spilled a carrot over there. I will be putting the recipe to this in my recipe book that's coming out. This is a meal I have every week. I love this meal. It's delicious, it's filling, it's balanced. So when it comes to portion sizes, I never count calories, I never count grams or anything like that. I will, before my meal, I will sit for just a few seconds and assess my hunger levels. So I'll be okay, how hungry am I feeling? Am I wanting something a bigger type meal? Am I wanting more of this smaller type meal? And depending on that, I'm gonna portion out my plate. So I'm pretty good at kind of guessing the portions that are gonna be right for me, but it's never set in stone. Of course, just because something is on my plate doesn't mean that, one, I have to finish it. With this meal, sometimes I get overly excited and I end up not finishing it. I wasn't hungry enough, so that's fine. And other way around too, sometimes I underestimate my hunger levels and I go back for seconds, and that's totally fine too. What's super important for me is that even if I'm eating with distractions, so if I'm reading a book or watching a show or even talking to someone or talking to a camera, my first bite and my last bite I have fully present in the moment, fully immersed. That way I can really taste the food and concentrate on all these aspects. That's something I really like to do. So I'm gonna do that now. This was very good, and this is when I assess is this what I thought it would be? Is it warm enough? Do I need to heat it up? Is it salt? Is there enough salt? It's important for me, and this is also a French thing in general, to have a nice kind of presentation at first. Most times, other times I'm just in a rush and I don't do that. But then once I've seen my plate nicely presented, I like to blend stuff together. Something that's important for French people is to always kind of set the table. So right now I'm alone, but it's still important to me that I'm eating sitting down in a proper plate with proper utensils, and that I'm just taking this time, that I'm not just standing up and shoveling food down my throat. And if I were to be eating with my family or friends, we would also have like a nice little presentation going on, because all of that really contributes to the pleasure aspect of it and like the enjoyable experience. Choosing spaghetti was probably not the best move. Like, this is not the most elegant thing to eat in front of other people, but one thing that's super important for me when I eat to be very mindful is I always put my silverware down maybe like every 2-3 bites and really take a little break. And also I always try to finish the mouthful that I have in my mouth completely, make sure like my mouth is like completely rid of food before I get another bite. And I think that this is something that we do naturally when we're used to eating with other people, like it's the case for a lot of French families, because obviously you want to be like, you don't want to have food in your mouth when you're talking. So what you're going to do is, so you're going to listen to when like somebody's talking, you're going to listen to them while you eat, and then you're going to like finish your bite and then you're going to talk. And so you have time in between your bites to kind of let your body like chill. Not having distractions is also a huge part of eating mindfully. If you are looking at your phone or at the TV or something, then obviously you're not 100% focused on your meal, and so you're not getting the full experience of like tasting all the different like textures and different flavors. And also you're naturally going to be less in tune with your hunger cues, which can then drive you to eat more like past your hunger because you're not really getting those signals. So it's important, at least when you're starting out with mindful eating, to do so without distractions. And then as time goes on, you can learn to eat like with the distractions. I do that now. I'm able to eat while I do something else. I don't do it all the time. Sometimes I just like to sit and like appreciate my meal. But yeah, that's something that is very important for the mindfulness aspect. As you can probably tell from the length of this video, it's important to take your time when you eat, to really take the time to, well, appreciate the meal and then chew thoroughly and then wait in between bites and assess your hunger level. You need to let yourself enjoy the course of the meal instead of like rushing it. And if you kind of like rush through it, and if you eat in like 3 minutes, there's no way that you're going to be able to be satisfied with your meal. There's like absolutely no way. Now, I do understand, of course, that it's not always possible. Like if you're eating your lunch from your office and you have like 5 minutes to eat, I get that. However, when you are a little bit more in control of your schedule, it's very important that you prioritize having these longer meals. And I'm not talking like 2-hour meals like some French families have, like we have for family gatherings, things like that. But just like 20-30 minutes, probably you can take the time to eat for 20-30 minutes when you're like at home, and you will waste your time doing stuff that is much less important than taking your time to eat, because everything kind of like stems from that. If you're not taking your time, then you're going to feel rushed, you're not going to feel satisfied, you're going to get past fullness, and then you're going to crave other stuff later because you didn't fully appreciate what you were eating, and you're not listening to your hunger cues, and just all of that will put you in this kind of like negative space for eating in a like healthy, balanced, mindful way. So right now I'm almost finished with my plate. I still have like a few more bites, but I don't think I'm gonna finish this. I think I'm gonna take like a bite or two and be fine, and I'm only gonna maybe leave a little bit, and that's fine. Like I never force myself, even if there's like one bite. If I'm not hungry, if I don't want it, then I'm not gonna eat it, and that's okay. Okay, I think I'm done now. I think I'm good. And actually what happened for me is also that I didn't balance out the proportions correctly, because I have a little bit too much kind of like meat, like vegan meat and veggies left compared to the pasta, probably because it like fell to the bottom of the plate, and so I had like spoonfuls of just pasta. But I'm not really wanting to eat this alone. I'm also not wanting to make more pasta, and I feel physically full and satisfied, so I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna put this in like a little container, and then tomorrow maybe it will be a little side for one of my meals. I know that a tip that people will give in regards to eating more mindfully and like listening to your hunger cues is ending your meal when you're like 80% full. And I can understand how that would work if you're eating your meals in like 3 minutes, of course, because it's going to take time for your brain to register. However, if you are eating slowly, if you're taking the time to eat, and if you're checking in with yourself and your hunger cues throughout the whole meal, then there's no need to stop at 80%. You can stop at 100% and trust that that is where you need to stop. Like right now, I'm like 100% full. And I know I'm going to stay 100% full. I'm not going to suddenly be like 120% full in 20 minutes, because I know that I took my time and that I had breaks, and I let kind of like my hunger cues catch up, and my stomach realized that it was full. I mean, my brain realized that my stomach was eating and getting full. And now I feel perfectly fine. And I feel like that's kind of a healthier way to do it, instead of stopping yourself when you're 80% full. Because if you do that, then it can create some type of restriction. You're not going to feel satisfied. You're going to feel like you want to keep going, and you're telling yourself no for just like calorie or like fullness percentage reasons, when you should be telling yourself no just because you are full and you don't want the food anymore. One aspect for me personally that really shows me that I am done, apart from like the physical fullness, is when the food is not as appealing. And this is why I like to eat my first or 2 bites very mindfully without distractions, and my last bites as well, because I can focus on the difference between the two. That first bite, like, it slaps. Like, it's so good, and I'm like, what is this amazing thing I'm eating? Because I'm hungry. But at the end, I'm eating the same food, but it just doesn't taste as good. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to keep eating that. And that's how I know, for me, like the difference between when I'm like really hungry and then when I start getting full, when the food isn't as appetizing. And that's a very interesting like biological aspect, because of course when you would need to like hunt for your food and do like all this work for your food, you had to have it be super appetizing to actually do all this work that was necessary in order for you to eat it. And so that's why you feel these like intense like deliciousness and like intense craving for foods when you're hungry. And again, if you are listening to your hunger cues and listening to your cravings and not restricting and eating balanced meals, you will get to a point where you're also able to discern your fullness and be like, you know what? I'm full. I'm fine. I'm not like craving this too much anymore. We can stop. So usually I finish my meals with a little dessert, and my dessert usually is something pretty small, like a fruit or like little yogurt or something. But since I didn't finish my cherry tomatoes from my starter, I think I'm just gonna finish them. It's gonna be enough to give me like this fresh, juicy taste that I'm craving for after my meal. And like none of the fruit that I have in my fridge is like really inspiring. Like I'm not like craving any of it right now. So I'm gonna have that. There's only 3, but honestly for me it's just this like, I want to end on like this kind of like juicy note. I'm not hungry anymore. It's just kind of like that. So I'm all done. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It was a little different. I hope that I was able to give you some tips in a way that was interesting. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe, and see you on my next one. Bye.